Good evening and welcome to our parent information session. This was put together particularly for our middle school families, and the session is called Assessment at HPA. And this is an informational session about the NWEA MAP growth assessments that our 6 through 12 students are taking. Actually, not 6 through 12, but I think 6 through 11th grade students are taking here at HPA as a measure of academic process. I'm Mike Chervenak, and I'm the middle school principal at HPA. And I have a couple other folks here with me. If you don't mind unmuting and introducing yourselves.
I'm a Dr. Aragon. I work at the upper campus and I am the curriculum instruction coordinator.
Mhm.
I'm Joe Ludis. I am the K through 8 learning specialist.
Excellent. So the objective, and I encourage both Dr. Aragon and Mr. Ludez to interject at any point to add to this informational session. But that's what this is for. This is for our parents, for our community, and the objective is to inform you about the assessment plans we have at HPA and to help you know more about the NWEA MAP growth assessment. This is an assessment platform that we have both Dr. Aragon and myself have a lot of experience with and really believe it can give us a lot of really strong information about student learning here at HPA. Our agenda is we're going to quickly review our core values, make a couple analogies for the measurement of academic progress, talk about methods of assessment, and then dig into the nitty-gritty about NWEA MAP growth, just what is an adaptive assessment and what is our timeline. This is a pilot year for us as a campus, and so we're holding some things kind of lightly because we want this to be a positive and useful experience for our students and families. So first off, we really adopted this assessment plan to be in line with our core values: integrity, respect, pursuit of excellence, and wonder. In particular, we found as a faculty and as a school community that in order to continue our pursuit of excellence, striving for the highest and best results, we wanted to embrace an assessment platform that would give us really clear academic data so that we can better support our students and so our teachers can make really strong instructional and curricular decisions. Dr. Aragon, would you say that's in line with like our thinking that we've had so far?
Yeah, of course, of course.
I've been using this little an analogy. So I got to present to our students this last assembly, and uh, it's not always the most thrilling topic for middle school students to go over the new assessment platform that we're going to be using at the school. But a couple of analogies that we've used that's really helped kids understand things is there's a weightlifting analogy that, when you're trying to find out what your zone of like development is going to be, that like it's really similar to finding your max weight. My own personal analogy is that like I'm a like not a great runner, but I love running and I've set some goals for myself, and I have a half marathon that I am planning to do in the spring. But leading up to that, in order to reach my goals, which I know our students have really high expectations for themselves, in order to reach similar expectations I have for myself, is that along the way, I kind of give myself these interim tests. I'm using this app called Runna, and it will record my pace and let me know how I'm doing and whether I'm on track to meet my goals. And I feel like the data that we're going to get from this MAP growth assessment will serve some similar purposes. So, I want to talk explicitly about the three different types of assessment. And those are summative, formative, and interim. And some we're really familiar with, others we hear about them, and then NWEA MAP growth is a really specific type of assessment. So summative tests, that's probably what we think of usually when it comes to assessment and testing. And those are our final exams. Those are state tests, SATs, ACTs, unit tests, final project evaluations where teachers are making final determination of a student's mastery using rubrics. These are summative tests, and they tell a student how well they have actually mastered concepts. Um, Formative tests or formative assessments, they inform how much a student is learning along the way. So the formative test tells you and teachers whether you're learning the material that was just taught. Those can take the form of exit tickets. Some homework could be used that way, right? You know, if you give homework to determine whether students are understanding the material, particular classwork, if you're using it that way, and then in-class checks for understanding. Uh, Feel free to interject, Mr. Luda, Dr. Aragon, if any other like types of formative assessment or anything comes up. Uh, the map growth assessments, although there are some aspects that could be argued to be overlapping, these are a really specific type of assessment. These are called interim tests. And interim tests are meant to tell us how you are growing over time on specific skills and knowledge. And so, like, interim tests ideally are given 3 to 4 times a year, and they will tell the test taker or the student whether they are growing uh, on the skills that are being assessed, whether it be reading, math, science, uh, running a half marathon, anything like that. And I think NWEA is particularly strong at giving that type of data. Also, what is interesting about NWEA map growth assessments is that they are adaptive. And that means that every student has a different experience with the growth assessment. Adaptive means that it adapts to each learner, and no two tests are exactly the same. Every test taker will get 50% of the test correction questions correct, and 50% of the test questions, sorry, incorrect. And what's different for each student is the degree of difficulty of each question. You can see here on the chart that if a student gets a question correct, it will give a more difficult question as the next question to try to find where a student is. And we're going to talk about how it uses that data. However, if a student gets a question incorrect, it will give a less difficult question to find the student's level most accurately. This is zoomed in, and we'll get into that little ruler here. And this sort of shows their graphics use the words right and wrong. I prefer correct, incorrect. But they're trying to find the standard line of error. Where are kids most challenged given the set of questions that are being given to them? And we're going to zoom into this green ruler that is on the left that has the number 190 and it goes up to 250 and above. And this little ruler represents the RIT scale or the Roush unit. This is where I might need a little help on it. And you'll see there's actually two rulers that are shown here. One ruler on the left, the blue, just has 1 through 11, and the one on the right is green and has 120 through 220. This is meant to show you that it's what's called an equal interval scale, meaning that the difference, if let's say a student takes a reading test and they receive a RIT score or Roush unit score of 180, and then they take that same test about 4 months later and they get a 190, that measures that growth. And it doesn't indicate necessarily a grade level readiness. It's just showing that that is the same as if you measure something at 6 inches and then it is 7 inches later, the difference between those two measures is the same. So it gives at first an achievement score, and then once a student has taken the same test more than one time and the test adapts to the level of difficulty, it gives a growth score. And those are the two different scores that are given to students. I hope I explained the Roush unit well. It's not the easiest thing. I asked Mr. Ludez to talk about this slide, and this slide gets into the zone of proximal development. And in case folks are listening, Mr. Ludez, if you sort of like describe what you're talking about, I think that could be helpful.
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Chervenak. This is a nice graphic that kind of helps to drive home, the real reasoning behind an adaptive test like the NWEA. And what it's showing is, kind of the way we all learn as learners. On that left side, you can see there's information that is already known, and the opposite of that is stuff that obviously you don't know yet. And this zone of proximal development really represents kind of this sweet spot where you are challenged because you are encountering some new information, you're building some new knowledge, but you're not, completely over challenged. Whereas if we were to kind of stick you in the not yet known category, you might be overwhelmed or lost. And if we sort of connect this back to the training for running or weightlifting or those types of things. If you'd been sick on the couch for 2 weeks and then jumped up and tried to run 20 miles, you'd be way over in that overwhelming category. And this test kind of helps to find that sweet spot for each student. It's a little bit different for everyone. And that is really valuable information for the student. It's really valuable information for teachers, for us to kind of know like where is that sweet spot so that we can really hone in and instruct at that level to help you build upon the knowledge that you already know and just continue to build that foundation up as you go. And so it's just a really useful assessment in that way.
Yeah. I mean, in many ways, this is why this is what we want students to be doing in school. We want them to both be in a place where they have access to the learning material, knowledge, skills, but to be challenged enough so that they are growing. And that's that zone of proximal development. The NWEA MAP growth assessment is designed to be taken by students 3 to 4 times a year. I believe our plan is to be going into 3 administrations of this assessment per year. And that's what will give us the most accurate growth measure. And so by tracking progress on growth tests, it enables teachers to identify areas of strength and struggle more accurately for their instruction. So it is fully so data is only as good as the let me rephrase that. Data is only useful if you are going to do something with it. And we have a full plan in place for teachers to look at the student growth data and student achievement data and allow it to inform their instructional decisions, curricular decisions, and also to help them have probably initially, it'll help them have more in-depth, meaningful discussions about a student's academic progress over time. So it helps all teachers understand and support the learning of each student. We believe, and I believe definitely at the middle level, that every teacher, no matter if you're a PE teacher, science teacher, social studies, we all have a responsibility to be teachers of reading and of math fluency. And so this helps us share and take accountability for all of that data. It also helps students and families understand the academic progress that you're making over time. Sometimes it's hard to see that full picture with only grades, formative assessments, and summative assessments. On the screen is also just like a screenshot of what a student profile report does cover. There's a lot of information, and our full intention is as we start to have more information about how students are performing on these assessments over time, that we will engage with our parents and our teachers to look at what these results actually mean. You see at the bottom there's sort of like a dotted line. That's a student. This is depicting a student who has taken, I believe, the mathematics test One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, 9 times. So this looks like it's almost 3 years worth of data we're looking at here for this student. Some quick facts. So on average, a map growth assessment gives each student 40 to 43 questions. It is not a timed test in that it's adaptive, but on average, it does take about 45 minutes. We're finding that sometimes it's taking a bit longer, and that is also I believe in my experience and that I've worked with NWEA map growth assessments, the first administrations do take a bit longer because it is getting to know the student. It's leveling. Uh, Administered 2 to 4 times per year. This year, and that it's a pilot year and we're starting mid-year, there will be 2 administrations. And there's one overall score with an instructional area sub-scores. They are aligned with standards and they're accessible. There are a lot of accessibility features for students. This slide was geared towards our students. Where we are so far at the middle school is this last week, actually, all of the students went on to NWEA and they engaged with the practice test. That means that all they did was that they tested their device to see whether it was a suitable device to be used, that there weren't any issues with the NWEA web-based platform. And also, they engaged with like a very short practice assessment just so that they can see what the format of the test was going to be. This was a really open process in our advisories, and it was meant to be set up in a way where students could ask questions and be really open about how they were experiencing the format of the test. And I was able to facilitate one of those sessions for one of our advisors, and I thought it went really well. And the students, I think, have a good idea what is coming. Our plan here at the middle school is that Thursday, January 22nd and Thursday, January 29th, we're going to run an assessment schedule. Now, usually we run what's called an experiential block in the afternoon. That means that students, although they're usually with their advisories, are engaged in sometimes they're in our library or in our garden or doing something else aligned with their grade level work or working on a big project. Our eighth graders are all working on a big podcasting project. Our seventh graders actually had a fun like sort of PE spike ball experience at Hapuna today. But this next week, we're flipping that schedule and we're going to take the NWEA map growth assessment. We're going to take the reading first and then math the following week. And we're allowing about a 2 hour block of time for this. I don't anticipate, like, we may have some outliers who need that full time, depending on what kind of test taker they are, but we don't anticipate that entire block being needed. But what we're trying to do is provide like a quiet, consistent, predictable environment for students to really show what they know on this map growth assessment. And as I related before, we're going to have one test in reading and math in January and then one in April. This is our pilot year. We need to have 2 tests in order to understand academic growth. So this chart that I have projected here, you're only going to see as a parent at first, once we have the reports and we go through the process of sharing them, you're only really going to see one data point. So it'll only give us the data about that one point in time. So the first test won't tell us too much beyond that information. So frequently asked questions, and these are definitely questions that both parents and students will have. Will I get a grade? Is there a grade being given based on how you perform on this assessment? And no, it is not. These are geared towards measuring students' academic process as it is rooted in the student's actual skills and knowledge. So think of it like it's a scrimmage. It's meant to tell us how you're doing over time. And definitely questions come up around testing anxieties. And I encourage you to be open about anything that your child experiences when it comes to testing. And we've tried to be really open in our advisory systems so that students are able to communicate that with their advisors so that we can work with students. We're holding these things, we're holding our students both closely in that we want to take care of them, but we're also holding these results kind of lightly in that we want this to be a positive experience and for it to be useful. And as far as looking into the future, we are, although place-based and project-based learning is what we hold in our heart as like the best experience for learners, we are a preparatory academy, and it is our job, it's our duty to help students be prepared for college and beyond. And students who go to our upper school are taking the PSAT, SAT, ACT, they have exams week, and getting students more at bats in a testing environment like this. I don't think it's something that should be done all of the time. But I do think that our school community deserves the experience to be able to perform on assessments, reflect on how they did, and grow. Overall timeline, I've sort of broken this down into kind of like two cycles. We're starting the first cycle, right? That's January. Our whole 6 through 12 faculty, they were trained in this. So like we've really invested in this being a meaningful experience. So our whole 6 through 12 faculty received the rigorous training on January 5th, our teacher workday, and on the NWEA Map Growth platform. And then we're going to give the middle of year assessments. Really, they're kind of like our beginning of year in that it's the first assessment. So we're giving those now. We're in the midst of that. They're taking them at the upper school, and we are taking them at the middle school this coming week. In February, our teachers are going to be trained on the reading of these reports. What does it look like? And they're going to be able to meet together and talk about these results they've gotten so far. And they'll have an opportunity to evaluate and analyze any trends and domains in need of reinforcement. So, and this will be based only really on an initial achievement score because it's just one administration that we'll have in our hands at that point, and we'll have a process for how that's shared with students and families. And these could be also used as a data point for student-led conferences, perhaps. Like, hey, this is the score I had. This is what it's telling me. It's more information. The second cycle is as we get into the next administration of the tests, our end of year tests, and that'll take place in April. At the middle school, we're taking the math and reading tests, and that's when a student will get a growth measure. So then they'll have both an achievement measure and a growth measure, and we'll see how much a student has grown academically on what is assessed in these tests or between the months of January and April. And then in May, those growth measures will be shared with families, and faculty will have the opportunity. We'll run our same processes with support with NWEA and also with instructional leadership and our professional learning communities. They'll have the chance to utilize and look at that overall trend data to support our academic program and planning for the coming year. So I'm super excited about having that data in hand in order to make those instructional decisions. If you have any questions, please, you can reach out directly to me. It's mchervenak at hpa.edu. That's mcservenak at hpa.edu. If you have any questions. And are there any questions I should consider speaking to at this point, Dr. Aragon, Mr. Ludes?
No, I think you did an excellent job. I think as a parent or somebody that's running the tests at the upper campus, um, it- I believe it's really important for our families to understand that we're starting at the middle school and moving up to high school so we can see the longevity of how a student grows over time. Um, so a question that comes up to me is, oh, what happens if my student takes a test and they score this way, and then the following test they actually do worse? Does that mean they haven't grown? The answer is no. These tests are a moment in time, and I think we need to realize that every day we show up differently, and sometimes, we go through experiences, and maybe today is not a good day. So, we want to take all of these tests seriously, but also um, know that it's really about the longevity of a story and the longevity of growth that we see over time, not just in one specific moment. What I love about this test is it actually provides teachers and students to be proud of really where they're at and meet that student where they're at and be able to group students in ways that develop those skills that they need to grow in a much more individualized and differentiated way than sometimes maybe we're able to do with just one formative or summative assessment. So I'm really excited about this collaboration with the middle school and upper school together, and to have this data to better serve students in their academic journey with us.
Yeah, I think it should be mentioned. I'll just throw it out there. All three of us are middle school parents. We'll be looking at this data both as leaders and teachers, and also as parents looking at our own students' growth. Mr. Ludas and I are middle school and upper school parents, so like we have our kids at both levels, and so like we're right there in many ways. We're right there with the families, so it's a great place to be. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening if you're listening to this recording, and have a good evening.